Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Generation Y from 4:30 to 5:30 on IQRA TV every Sunday, and I'm your host Osama Hussain. And Generation Y is a topic about things that go on in youngsters' lives on a day-to-day basis. First of all, I'd like to introduce to my guests / peers Talha, who is 16 years old.
Yeah, I'm Talha. I'm currently studying 3 subjects at a school in Bradford.
On the right of Talha, I have Daud.
I'm Daud. I'm also a sixth form student studying 3 subjects.
And on my left, I have Bilal.
Yeah, my name is Bilal Khan and I'm studying 3 subjects at school in Bradford for my A-levels.
Today's topic is going to be regarding marriages. First of all, we'll start off with young marriages, as is a hot topic amongst the youth, and we'll discuss things around marriages. First of all, Talha, what's your view on young marriages?
Personally, I believe that young marriages can be good at times and it can't. I believe it can be good because if someone's ready to get married at a young age, say 18, 19, then they can they have the responsibility. If they can take on the responsibility to look after their wife, to own a house, to have children, then that's up to them. But it can. Some people obviously they want to get educated before get a degree, and it might wait till like 24, 25 and then get married. So it can be both ways.
Daud, what's your view on what Talha has just said? Do you agree or do you disagree?
I do agree with Talha. It just depends on the individual at times. Some certain individuals are ready at 17, 18. Some individuals are ready at 25, 26. It just depends when you become a little bit more mature later on in life. There are loads of people that vary between the two. It just depends on who you are and what you want to do in life, really.
Bilal, Daud's mentioned about age, and age is a broad number. So, what do you think on age-wise? What do you think is a suitable age to get married in?
Yeah, I agree with Talha. There's no I don't feel like there's a right age that you can get married at. It totally it depends on the individual. It's like you said, someone could be ready at 18, someone could be ready at 25 or 30. It just depends what the individual wants to do with their lives. Like, say someone might have a goal just to get a job, just to work, get a small house, and just live a nice, simple life. Whereas someone else might want them to get a high education and get like a really big house, have a big family. And I think it also depends a lot on the family, how the parents feel about it, and how the rest of the family feels about it. Because if your parents feel that you're ready, then that's good. Then you go ahead. But obviously, you have to compromise with your parents and do what they want as well.
Bilal's just mentioned that it's that age is a broad number. So, in different cultures and different societies, even different places in the world, for example, like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and even in India, they have when the child's born, they already sort of basically arrange the marriage, basically arranged marriages, and arranged marriages is a common thing in our society. Me being a Pakistani, I know that families do it, and that it's a common thing that happens amongst families. What's your lot's view? What do you think of arranged marriages, and what do you think about it, basically, in general?
Well, firstly, there are marriages such as you just explained, arranged marriages, and again, that depends on your parents. It can vary from parent to parent. Some parents are in favour of doing such marriages at such a young age. Other parents are against that. They would like their child to mature and pave their own path. But that does vary.
I totally agree with Dawood there. I believe that when culture comes into it, it can be especially from a child that doesn't want to get married to a cousin, get married back home. I believe that it can cause conflict between the parents and the child. I believe culture should stay aside, especially when a child's born in the UK, because it's completely different to people in Pakistan, like I said, India, Bangladesh. and yeah, it can cause a lot of conflict.
But you saying that culture should be put aside, the fact that your culture plays a big part in how you're brought up and your parents' views and even your grandparents' views. Do you think that putting them aside and leaving them aside will be dishonourable or show not respect towards your family members or even your ancestors, for example, going against what they used to do?
I believe in some circumstances that can happen. Obviously, you don't want to dishonour your family, but I believe that it's all up to you. So if you want to get married from back home, then that's your choice. But if you, like most youth today would want to get married to their own, girl or whatever. So yeah.
That leads me to the point about parents' views, Bilal. You know, parents, some say that caste matters, status matters, money matters. You might have heard some people say get married to a rich girl, you'll have some money there. But do you think that's a factor that should be taken into mind when getting married to someone?
Well, I think it depends on how the person's grown up. So say the parents, say it's from Pakistan or another country like India, say they've been brought up in a culture where their brothers or cousins will get married to another cousin or someone in the same caste, so they think that's entirely normal. And then when they move to UK and then they have kids, they expect their children to do the same, whereas their children, they've grown up in England and they've grown up in a society where everyone's getting married to people they want to get married to. And obviously then the child wants to think that, I want to get married to this person, and then the parents looking at the child like, no, you don't do that because in our family we don't do that. But the child doesn't know that because they haven't grown up in the same place that the parents grown up. They've grown up in an entirely different society. So it's hard on the child and the parent. They have to learn to compromise and be able to do something which is going to make them both of them happy.
This is a question to all of you. Do you think in general that the issues created in society, for example, where, for example, say a guy goes behind his wife back and he meets another girl, for example, or something on the lines of that, and he was in a forced marriage, which was only to please his parents, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy with something that you don't want, for example. Like now, say person A gets married to person B, and they don't want to get married to person B, but want to get married to person C. Do you think it'll create a world of sin and evil, and do you think it'll cause an issue for the younger generations that set a bad example towards the others?
I feel like that definitely just doesn't show a good example, because if that was the circumstance, the logical thing to do there is obviously just not to get married to that person. I know it could be difficult, it would be difficult to obviously express that to your parents, but it is the good choice to make your views apparent to your parents, because without telling them that, they will assume that their views are what you see also, and in a lot of cases that is not exactly what happens. And if you end up in such a unhappy and just for example an unhappy marriage, that isn't going to be beneficial for you, your family, the girl that you've got married to, or any other person that's involved.
Do you think that's partially going to be your fault though, because this marriage is an arranged marriage, isn't it? So you've kind of agreed to it. So if you've agreed to marry this person, you've agreed to spend your life with them, and you've agreed with your parents, and you shouldn't go behind their back. Obviously, if you've been forced to do it, and like you can't say anything to your parents, that's different. Then you just have to choose. Either you marry the person, and you go behind their back, or you break your parents' heart, or you break your wife's heart or your husband's heart.
No, that is true. You either do break the girl's heart or you break your parents' heart.
Exactly.
So there is a compromise there.
Yeah.
But that's what some parents and some children aren't able to do. At that age, they're not able to compromise, and that's where this issue comes from. They're not able to come to some type of agreement down to it, and that's also because of our parents were born in a different time, a different place, and that has translated back into our society today.
I can stop you there for a second. I just wanted to say that our parents, they brought us up from a young, since we were born basically.
Yeah, that's right.
So they have seen us take every single step from being born to where we are now. So they'll know us best and better than anyone. They'll know us better than ourselves. At the end of the day, when we were young, who changed us, who looked after us, it was our parents at the end of the day. So do you think that choosing your wife or husband for a girl is the right decision as they know you best, or do you feel that it is your decision that you have fallen in love with this person and that you should be able to marry them on your own accord, and that your parents' view doesn't count?
No, I don't think that at all. I think it comes down to the fact that your entire lives they have stood by you, they have clothed you, they've fed you, they've put a house over your head. I think that is true, but it comes down to the fact that you respect them your entire lives, and it comes down to the point where they should respect you and they should hear you out at least, so that they know even if you are being forced into a marriage, for example, that they should respect you enough to listen to your view. They should know what's going on in your mind, so that all of your cards are on the table, so that they know what's going on in your head, whether you're happy or unhappy going into this marriage. They know completely each factor and what's going on in your mind, or otherwise later on if that marriage does break down, it will come down to the blame will come down to you, because it was you who agreed down to that marriage, so it will come down to you again. And if you're not able to tell your parents that, it will be blamed on you, because it is you at the end of the day agreeing to this.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dawood there. Obviously, you have to respect your parents' opinions. Like you said, your parents have brought you up, they fed you, and everything. They look after you your whole life, and obviously their view matters. But at the end of the day, it's on a new journey. So you're taking a big step in life, marrying someone that you want to. So if your parents want you to marry someone that you're not keen on, I think then your parents and you should decide. Obviously, sit down, talk about it, and obviously come to a option. Should you marry this girl? Should you not? Should you get married at a later age? If there's going to cause a lot of conflict between parties.
Sorry to stop you there, but in the Prophet's time, the Prophet encouraged marriage at a young age, and the reason behind it was to prevent sin and to prevent certain things happening. Do you think that we should change that and not have young marriages due to the way society has adapted and changed? For example, your parent might say you need to go through the education system, get a degree, then get a job, then get married. Or do you feel that once you feel that you found someone, your parents are happy with that person and they're happy with this decision, they're happy with it, do you feel that you should get married then? Or do you think they should go through the whole system, adapt and follow what society has decided to show and do what that does? Or should you do what the Prophet has encouraged?
Yeah, I think that you should take on responsibility if you're ready, if you're willing to get married, if you're willing to take on a big responsibility again, then go for it. But if obviously your parents might want you to go to higher education, get a degree, then get married. So it basically depends on the situation. But if you're keen, if you really want to get married and you get married, like the times back, the Prophet times, they were different times, and obviously young people were encouraged to get married at a young age because of the circumstances. But now, as the world has come around, years have passed, there's a lot of things changing, and it's more, I think it's basically more to do with you yourself,
So what you're saying is that because society is adapting, we have to adapt to it, basically?
Yeah, basically, because you're living here, you want to take a big step, then take it. But
personally, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think that we shouldn't have to adapt to society. At the end of the day, what we do is what we should do. Is what our view is. We should make sure allow people to understand that that's your view and let them embrace it, and not adapt to society. At the end of the day, the Prophet's time was the best of times, and I feel that that should be the example. That is the example to us, and that how they live their lives is how we should live our lives. I'm not saying to you go on your camels and go riding down Manchester Road, but what I'm saying is we should pick up the ways they had, the things they did, and implementing them in your day-to-day life. At the end of the day, marriage is half your deen, which I'm sure all of you know, and it's a big sunnah to do in your lives. Bilal, what's your take on it?
Yeah, don't you think that's really hard, not to adapt? Because look at everyone around us. We're all on our phones. We're all doing different things every day. Things that's coming new to culture. Don't you think that obviously we're going to want to follow it? We're going to want to do things that our friends are doing and other people are doing, and it's going to be really hard not to do that.
if you're willing to adapt to society, society's got different views. For example, society, for example, says that certain things are allowed in the religion that society accepts. For example, in society, if you do commit murder, you'll get put into jail for life. Whereas Islamically, what should happen is that you have death for death. Basically, it's like basically the capital punishment. So, for example, this country's adapted from that and come to the part where you come to jail. Do you feel that we should be adapting, or that we should be following the Prophet, as what we're going to be questioned about is what we did in this life, and if we're going to adapt to society and commit sins, that is going to help us in the long run?
Of course, we shouldn't commit sin, and we shouldn't do bad stuff. We should try do every sunnah the Prophet taught us, do everything the Prophet taught us. But don't you think that's it's quite difficult in this day and age, because everyone in this country, everyone in this world, we're all living this this ongoing life. We're not like following Deen. We're just doing like different stuff every day. Like, we're not actually following Deen and not following the Sunnah.
Yeah, with the death, with capital punishment, it was in the past. It was in the Prophet's time. Obviously, times have changed now. But in general, I don't think we should have to adapt to society. Even with the marriages, for example, I don't feel that being a young teenager that you can't have a nikah done, or you can't have some type of arrangement done, so that is halal, and so that you aren't getting sin, so that you know that you've done such a, for example, it's a very big thing to get married in society. It's a big responsibility at the end of the day. I'm not saying to you, if you're not prepared, still go for marriage, but if you're ready for it and you're happy with this person and you've thought about the decision properly and you're happy with it, that you should get married, and there should be nothing to stop you. At the end of the day, you're doing a good act, you're following the Prophet's Sunnah, and you're going to be getting reward for it at the end of the day.
I think I do understand where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, there is, in this day and age, there is a big blur between Islam and our culture. There's a big difference between it, but people seem to have blurred that line. Where Islam is our religion, culture has somehow formed its way into our religion, but there is a distinct difference between them. And where you say we should follow the Prophet's Sunnah, that is obviously religion, that is what we should be doing. But of course, culture is something else. Now, because of them times back then where they did get married young, he did encourage it, but he did not force it. Now, in today's day and age, they are forcing it instead of encouraging it. And that's where the line is blurred. That's where our culture steps in, and it's not religion anymore, it comes down to culture. Sometimes parents seem to use the fact that we should be following the Prophet's example of being encouraged to be married at such a young age. They use that as, say, leverage, but that's obviously not the case. That's obviously culture that's formed over such a long period of time, and that culture now states that we should get married at such a young age, but that isn't the case. That's culture, that's not religion. And I understand that you're saying that we should follow our religion, but there is a blurred line there.
There's been a lot of cases in society where people have had relationships and due to their parents not accepting them or allowing them, there's been issues. For example, you might hear stories that a 16-year-old girl is pregnant.
Right.
For a woman, for a person to be pregnant at 16 years old is a very, very big responsibility. And at the end of the day, the two people will get blamed is the man and the woman, the boy and the girl, basically. So don't you think that the parents should step in there and do what is best and do what is right, and to say, yeah, I agree to this, and make it legit, so at the end of the day it will be halal for them. Whatever's going on, whatever's happening, it's all halal, and that there's no sin for it, because at the end of the day you're still under your parents' care.
Definitely.
And they will be held accountable on that day as well. For example, like say you commit a sin in the house, they'll be questioned, why weren't you there at that time, or what were you doing, what did you do to prevent it, or this and that. For example, say you swear in your house and your father hears you swear and you know it's a sin, and your dad knows it's a sin and he's not mentioned, oh, you've sworn, you shouldn't have sworn. You'll get the sin, but also he'll get the sin for not mentioning it's a sin. In the same way, what I'm trying to say is that, say you found someone, you're happy with someone, you want to settle down, for example, that your parents, should they listen to it and think about it, accept it, and take it on, or should they just deny it and not want to listen to it and wait till an issue occurs where it results in where two parties are upset and it's led to a catastrophe basically?
I feel like that's where it comes down to arranged marriage. Now, if that marriage is obviously done by your parents, then obviously they do have that responsibility to help out in that marriage and sort out the problems, because it's obviously done by them. But on the other hand, where our parents say that obviously if we are to choose our own choice, if we are to make our own decision on who we want to marry, that's where they'd like to basically cut ties and say, you've chosen this for yourself, so you're going to have to take out the necessary actions to obviously deal with that. But at the end of the day, they should, even if we do decide to choose someone of our own choice, they should take a more active role, but they decide not to.
Yeah, and that's why it leads into like the cases, like you said, girls getting pregnant at 16, there's always a reason behind it. In most cases anyway, there's a reason behind it, and that could be the reason of, like you said, parents forcing it to get married to someone else, but then you've maybe had enough of it and therefore go for your own decision, get married privately without your parents knowing. And then, like you said, girls getting pregnant at 16, and that's how it all occurs, through your parents not listening to you, and through all this family conflict and family politics in a way. Yeah. Do
you even think that parents should have a say in marriage, because you're going to get married to someone and spend your the rest of your life with that person? Your parents are not going to spend the rest of their life with that person. Your parents are not going to grow old with that person. You're going to do it, so shouldn't it be like entirely your choice?
I think it's important that they do have a say, because like he said before, Osama said before, they brought you up, they've looked after you all their life, and
I think they do have a say. I think they do have a say, but at the end of the day, it is going to be your wife or your husband for the ladies. So it should be your choice. But it is important that your parents do listen to you and do have that open relationship where you can talk to them, because you don't want to take advice of the wrong person. Say you take advice on someone on something. Say you go up to someone and you say to him, how can I calm myself, how can I feel good, how can I be happy? If you ask somebody who's not going to give you the right answer, you know what they'll say to you. If you ask someone good, they'll take you to the right path, say do this, do that. For example, say you're feeling a bit depressed, a good person will encourage you to go and do sports, for example, go play football, for example, go do something sporty, for example, like that. So it is important, I think, that they should get advice off the parents, but I also think it is important that the parents have an open relationship with the child, and that don't, for example, say someone comes home and says, Mum or Dad, I've decided that of this girl, I'm happy with her, I'm happy to marry her, and not where the response is, beat him up, you're not going to have this girl, you can't do this. You just end up beating up the kid for no reason. But at the end of the day, it is human nature. We all have feelings, it's part of growing up as a young teenager, and that it should be accepted, I feel, and that parents should accept it, and that should, I'm not saying parents should say, let them get married there and then, but should listen, take heed on it, ask others advice on it if they're not sure about it, and even try and get involved in the child's day-to-day life, so they know, and that they know that they'll have an open relationship so they can talk to them.
But that's like the issue, like loads of parents, it's not just brown parents, or it's loads of different parents, they're not having that open relationship with their children. Like obviously nowadays there's girlfriends, boyfriends breaking up, this and that. Obviously kids go through a lot these days, and the parents, it's really important to have that open relationship, but parents don't know how to have that, they've never been taught that. So what are the children supposed to do when their parents don't understand? It's difficult.
Yeah, and then that's where it leads to the child, the youth, whatever, going, doing their own options and going their own way. Going against their parents.
It leads to the basically like an uprising in a way.
Yeah.
So.
But I do believe, parents should have a choice. Obviously,
should have a say.
I think should have a say. You should give them advice. You should take the advice along. But at the end of the day, the parents should also, leave it to you. It's your own choice at the end of the day.
Now, you did talk about an open relationship with your parents, but that is quite difficult when obviously they want their say to be heard, they want their view to be heard, and what we deem to be sometimes to be a bit, say, for example, backward thinking, to back then. Obviously that was the past, but they do think to back then to be better times did work a lot better back then. But obviously in today's day and age, it is a lot more things are discussed, and that's where they're not used to that. They're more into conveying an idea and just making sure that their point is heard.
We're going to go for a short break, and we will be back shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.